And we're on. I hope everyone is having a lovely morning. Good to see everybody. This says I love my cat. Because it's true. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, it says it on both sides. All right, just making sure. Because you guys know me, I do love my cat. Good morning, Karen. You're always first. Kudos to you, Karen. You are always the first person to wish me a good morning in the chat. Are you getting the notifications, or you just got it down to a system? I know most people don't get notifications. What's up, Mike? Good to see you, buddy. Karen, Mike, hope you guys are having a lovely morning and or afternoon, whatever's going on. Jeffrey, what's up? Dark Star Flashes, present. I love it. That's awesome. I'll start taking roll. Who's here? Hello, Mystic Warrior. Punk Rock. We talked about Against Me yesterday. David, I strive to be fourth. And Karen, you set your alarm. I love it. DLJ, good morning from Malaysia. Mystic Warrior, we played with Black Flag back in the day, Tallahassee. Man, I hope we get to meet someday in person, and you can tell me stories about that, because I'd love to hear it. Also, I hope you're going to come catch us somewhere in Florida. Me and Graham Elwell, we got our Florida dates. We're not coming to Tallahassee, but we are coming to Gainesville, Coral Gables, Orlando, and Jacksonville. So I hope you can make one of them. What's up, Justine? What's up, Daniel? What's up, John? We wanted to do a Tampa show, but logistically it just didn't work out this time, unfortunately. But we were trying to do a Tampa show. Britton, what's up? Good to see you, Andy. And I can't wait to come back to your neck of the woods, because I had such an amazing trip there. I'm going to come back, but I'm going to tour. What's up, Edwin? What's up, Google? Good to see everybody. We're almost at 30. Once we hit... What's up, Dominic? Once we hit 30, we'll officially begin. I have a kind of obvious question that we just haven't asked yet today to start. And my answer is very basic, so I'm curious to know what your guys' answer is. So we'll be talking about that in a minute. Once we hit 30. What's up, Mike? Mikey W. Oh, I hope everyone's having a decent Tuesday. Got a little warmer where I'm at here in Southern California. I do have a window open because I had to run some Drano in my sink because the sink got clogged. Now, the sink got clogged. The sink got clogged because my girlfriend was making a carrot cake for my album release show. So, and Craig, we are going to do the Guardian piece. Tums Lover, I asked yesterday for Music Monday if Pelosi or Trump had a band, what would the name and genre be? Pelosi or Trump? Pelosi and Trump. Let's go that route. Pelosi and Trump have a band, and it's called Center Right. Pelosi and Trump have a band. All right, so if Pelosi and Trump had a band, it would be the most not creative band you could ever imagine in the history of bands. So it would be kind of really generic, kind of paint by numbers, yacht rock, because that's kind of what they're surrounded by all the time. But it wouldn't be necessarily musically inclined. So it would just be kind of very lazy, synth-driven yacht rock, and it would have a name like Symphonics or something like that, and that'd be it. And they'd have albums such as A Bipartisan Marketplace of Ideas, and it'd be incredibly boring. All right, guys, we're over 30. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. I am Ron Placone, your host. This is the show where we just kind of build it together. People tweet me articles, they tweet me ideas, they send me ideas, and that's what we talk about. I'm seeing all this shit for the first time. I'm logging into the world, getting my news on, because it's morning where I'm at. So this is us in a community, figuring out what's going on in the world, getting our news on. So my question today, and this is one that we haven't had a chance to ask yet, solely because, you know, we were off last week. You know, I only did a show on Monday. So why, as far as the Speaker of the House goes, you know, you guys already brought up Nancy Pelosi. Tums Lover says the name of their band would be the Platitudes. That's pretty good. I dig it. Why isn't any progressive running against Nancy Pelosi? And when I ask this question, I want you guys to answer from speculation of what your thoughts are on the inside. You don't need to virtue signal and be like, well, I would blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this isn't, yeah. That's a boring answer. It doesn't help. Why isn't a progressive running against Nancy Pelosi? She has an incredibly low approval rating amidst Democrats, amidst everyone. She is harmful to the party. She has oversaw catastrophic losses. Why isn't a progressive running against her? Why? I mean, instead, we're in this situation where people's arms are being twisted because the only options against her are to her right, which is impressive. Impressive is one way to put it. It's amazing. And the Blue Dog Dems, now a bunch of Blue Dog Dems, who are even worse than Nancy Pelosi, who are even to the right of her, they're threatening not to support her. And they have some leverage because they'll go over to the Republicans. They don't care. They'd be happy to just go over to the Republicans and side with the Republicans and throw Nancy Pelosi under the bus. But the progressives, well, their arms are being twisted because they're saying, where else are you going to go? This is another, for instance, even on the inside, if you're a progressive in the Democratic Party, they'll twist your arm because you either take our right-wing choice or you get a Republican. Where else are you going to go? So my answer to the question, well, we got to do it ourselves. We're going to run someone, you know, progressives have got to get their own person. My answer to that question, and I'm talking strictly from this is what I think's going on the inside, they either don't or don't think they got the numbers. I think that, I really do think that the inside of the machine, known as our electoral politics, are more sinister than we realize. I firmly believe that. I'm basing it on what limited experience I've had. And I've been to some meetings. I've been to some dinner parties that have made my stomach turn. Not because of the food, but because of what really went on there. Because of the discussions that really went on there. I've had some peeks under the hood at the Democratic establishment. And that's why I feel the way I do. You know, it's not because... So anyway, I think that it's because they don't have the numbers to beat her. So they're just recognizing the horrible situation that they're in. Let me see what you guys are saying. Nancy is a master politician with carrots and sticks. She's good at raising money, and she does it in a very unethical way, and nobody cares. Jordan echoes, probably because none of them think they can win. Google points out pretty early to throw in support so soon. Well, and they didn't get anything in return either. That's the, you know, I mean, apparently they got some committee appointments in return, which is no policy commitment. You know, it'd be one thing, we could be having a different conversation if she made the commitment of Medicare for all. That'd be a different conversation. But she didn't, and she's not going to. In fact, she's promised PAYGO, which means that you don't fund any program unless you grab the money for it first. So that's the opposite of getting Medicare for all. So Karen says Barbara Lee would be great. I agree, but it's not going to happen. Indeed, it's not. And Slow News Day echoes, committee appointments mean nothing when pay-go and no new taxes on the lower 80% are implemented. Absolutely. Progressive committee, can we have Medicare for all? Speaker Pelosi, no. What will happen? Yeah, Chris is right. Edwin points out Canova and Jaffe showed it's rigged. Celeste points out no one will go up against her. Jeffrey, Pelosi is no longer acceptable to me as a speaker. Yeah, me too. Pam is saying we got to get a Labor Party, and a real Labor Party. Pam, say hi to Manchester for me. I tell Manchester that I've been thinking about them a lot ever since I left. And man, it's such a big crush. Such a big crush. Now, when you have a crush on a city, it's much different than a crush on a person, right? I'm an engaged man. But my love affair with Manchester is much different. In fact, my fiance shares my love affair with Manchester, but I think I'm a little more into it than she is. Maybe. I don't know. She really dug it, but I really gushed about Manchester. Almost every day I'm like, Manchester, it's just like, can we send them a card? And she's like, calm down. That's what happens. Any chance you can get Andrew Yang on the show? I'd love to get Andrew Yang on the show, Jordan. Pasta, if you're watching, Andrew Yang, get him. And Slow News Day is asking you all to give me a like, which I appreciate. Slow News Day, follow Slow News Day's example. Throw this a like. Would ya? Would it kill ya? Throw it a like. Come on. Larry, if they lose, they get nothing. If you get committee appointments, you can be involved in shaping how policy is made. If they are on the Rules Committee, they can shape how votes go. I guess we'll see. But with all the promises Pelosi has made so far, progressives don't have a seat at the table. A bipartisan marketplace of ideas, meeting Trump midway, pay-go, and, all the tax rules. That's what Pelosi has promised so far. That's just a fact. Like, that's what she's promised so far. That doesn't get us anything for progressive change. And you can't help but feel like, with how grossly unpopular she is, why doesn't a progressive go up against her? And my answer to that question, they don't have the numbers. Or at least they're convinced they don't have a number. Because, again, this is going on the inside. We don't get a say in this. And when I say we, I mean me, the people. This is what's going on the inside. And I'm confident it's way worse than we realize. And as the show goes on, I've told you guys more about my speak under the hood. Statutory echoes that they don't have the numbers. And that's just what we're dealing with. Jordan points out it doesn't matter how unpopular she is, as long as the donors want her. And Bailey, I'm glad you got your tickets for January 10th, and I can't wait to see you there. Guys, now more than ever, and we'll move on because we got a lot to talk about today. It seems like we're all kind of in unison that it's like, well, they just don't have the numbers. And that's why no one's running. And just a normal average guy, how can they not have the numbers against a woman with a 28% approval rating? Because this is something they decide. This isn't something that, this is something that goes on within the House, behind closed doors. So, it's not like they can show up with a bunch of citizens. This is a behind closed doors thing. In the behind closed doors manner, they don't have the numbers. As far as public opinion goes, yeah, we do have the numbers. I believe that. I believe we have the numbers. I firmly believe that the two right-wing parties that we have in this country, just a normal average guy, I'm assuming they care about what their constituents think. They don't. I appreciate you saying that. They don't. I mean, some of the progressives do. At least I believe that. I believe the progressives do. But the people that are just going to lock in line with Pelosi, the establishment, or the Blue Dog Dems that are willing to go over to the Republicans, they don't care. They really don't. So I think that's where we're at. I think the progressives don't have the numbers. That's just the reality. And this is just why it's such a horrible situation, because I really wish we would have started a new party when we had the chance. I really wish we would have. It's like, well, that's really hard. Yeah, it is really hard. That's going to take time. Yeah, but this is taking a lot of time, and we only have so much of it. We only got so much. So let's move on to some other stuff, because there is a lot I want to talk about. We'll talk more about this as time goes on. But I want to get over to some breaking news this morning. Give me 1 second here. Whenever I'm fumbling around the timeline or getting things ready to show you guys, I like to think of that as our commercial break. So I'm gonna start multitasking. Shout out to our sponsor, ZT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules. Seriously, their tea's awesome. We had a wonderful event in Austin. Check out their tea. And by the way, we're booking Texas dates. So I should be back in Austin pretty soon. April. Boom! Manafort held secret talks with Assange in Ecuadorian embassy, sources say. So this has been all over the news this morning. Apparently Manafort and Assange met in the Ecuadorian embassy. We're going to talk about this and why you should be skeptical of it. Very skeptical of it. Trump ally met WikiLeaks founder months before emails hacked by Russia were published. Okay, this is according to The Guardian. Donald Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, held secret talks with Julian Assange inside the Ecuadorian embassy in London and visited around the time he joined Trump's campaign. The Guardian has been told. A well-placed source, so that's their source here, a well-placed source, has told The Guardian that Manafort went to see Assange around March 2016. Months later, WikiLeaks released a stash of Democratic emails. Stolen by Russian intelligence, we actually don't know that to be the case. We don't know that to be the case. Manafort denies involvement. All right, now the rest of this article is just kind of repeating the stuff that we already, that's been talked about nonstop in our news cycle for the past 2 years and counting. All right, why should you be skeptical of this? First of all, and Aaron Matei's been tweeting about this as well as a number of other people. First of all, the Ecuadorian embassy. It's not like Julian Assange has a ton of privacy or a ton of freedom. It's quite the opposite of that. The man has been denied sunlight. He's been denied healthcare that he needs. Verifying a meeting like this would be incredibly easy. Incredibly easy. So why are we just hearing about this now? That doesn't make much sense. Secondly, WikiLeaks has denied this. They've denied this to the point that we'd be willing to bet $1 million and we'd be willing to turn Julian Assange over. They said. That's what WikiLeaks said. Now, I know that WikiLeaks, they've been known to kind of BS. Oh, wait. No, they've never had to retract a document. My bad. They've never had to retract a document. Ever. Never happened. So there's that. So, since we're talking about sources, man, WikiLeaks is really confident this has never happened. They're saying this never happened. What about the source of this article, though? If someone's telling the truth and someone isn't, who's the source of this article? Well, the writer of this article is Luke Harding, Who's Luke Harding? Luke Harding is the guy who's the author of the book Collusion, a book that is a desperate attempt at 15 minutes in the spotlight by this fake journalist, Luke Harding. Luke Harding got his ass handed to him by Aaron Maté on The Real News. What did Aaron Maté do? Well, again, Luke Harding wrote a book called Collusion. Aaron brought him on The Real News and asked him the hard-hitting, unreasonable question, was there collusion? Luke Harding, for 28 minutes, couldn't answer that question. He bullshitted Aaron Maté for 28 minutes, where Aaron Maté would repeat the question, was there collusion? Was there collusion? Was there collusion? It was a very good piece on Aaron Maté's part. Luke Harding made an ass of himself because he's not a real journalist. And the only flaw I saw in that video is that they didn't have carnival music in the background. That would have been appropriate whenever Luke Harding was speaking. Watch that video if you haven't. It's comically terrible on Luke Harding's part. So that's the author of this piece. And by the way, this has been all over the news. The source they point to is The Guardian. And The Guardian's piece was written by Luke Harding, a guy who has been unmasked multiple times. So if we want to talk about sources, on one end, you have an entity that has never had to revoke anything. That has never been proven. As of the recording of this, they have never published anything false. On the other hand, you have a noted propagandist who still has a best-selling book, who is using the whole Russiagate situation to inflate their career, and has been unmasked by a guy who asked the question, is there collusion? Now, I know it's very hard. It's very hard to accept the fact that sometimes there aren't good guys in a scenario. Paul Manafort's not a good guy. No one's saying he is. No one's saying Paul Manafort's a good guy. No one's saying Trump's a good guy. They're not. They're not good guys. Do they have corruption? Of course they do. Are all these indictments that are evidence of money laundering and stuff like that, should they be surprising to anybody? No. It's surprising to you that a con artist misappropriated campaign funds, that he has shady money laundering, that he has participated with shady Russian oligarchs? How does that surprise anybody? It's not. But what's going on with Julian Assange? Well, here's what's going on. They're trying to assassinate this guy. That's what's going on. They're literally trying to kill this guy. And that's not an embellishment. That is what they are literally trying to do. And people demonize him because we have to be that tribal. Well, he published incriminating emails about the Democrats, so he must love Trump. No. He's a journalist doing his job, publishing information that he believes the public has the right to know. Why did he publish the emails right around the time of the election? Should he have waited until after? The timing is peculiar. It is? But he should have waited until after the election to show you what was going on? To show you that the DNC were cheaters and liars? He should have waited until afterwards. He's a journalist. And a real journalist is supposed to just tell people the truth, no matter what that is. And they're supposed to be committed to the truth above all else. And not too long ago, Julian Assange, when he was exposing stuff about Bush, he was a hero of the Democrats. Then he shows you something, that goes against the Democrats. All of a sudden, he's an enemy of the state. So, WikiLeaks has projected that this will go down as a journalistic disaster and tarnish the credibility of The Guardian. I guess we'll see. But as of the recording of this, it certainly looks that way. It certainly looks that way. When you look at how easy a meeting would be to verify, when you look at the fact... Oh, and by the way, they've already edited this piece as of the publication of it. It came out this morning. As of the publication of it, they already have made different edits, inserting Weasley language like allegedly and stuff like that. There's tweets out there that show where that's happened. So, you guys want us to cover that? We will. Or we did. And, yeah. I find it very hard to take anything Luke Harding has to say seriously at all. But even if you take him away as the source, there's still a lot of fishiness and reason for skepticism in this article. Why are we just hearing about it now? Now, wouldn't a meeting be easily verifiable? WikiLeaks adamantly denies this. No, the sources are vague at best, and everybody's just pointing to this Guardian article as their evidence. All the other media outlets that are repeating this, that are parroting this, they look to this Guardian article as their evidence. And the Guardian article has no actual source. There's no actual source here. That's how propaganda works. So, I mean, we'll see if anything changes, but as of the recording of this... And, you know, what's going to happen? Luke Harding's going to sell more books. And Julian Assange is going to continue to live in the embassy where he's not getting care that he needs, where he's not getting sunlight, where he's cut off from the outside world, where he doesn't get access to his attorneys at times. But Luke Harding makes more money. That's journalism. Not just in the United States, but in the world, really. I mean, when it comes to journalism, we're really... I mean, even Chris Hayes, by the way, just side note, even Chris Hayes expressed a little bit of skepticism towards this article. Even Chris Hayes. Chris Hayes. All right, let's move on. Amnesty International to stage worldwide protest against Google's dystopian censored search for China. Amnesty International has announced a new protest campaign calling on Google to cancel its controversial plan to launch a censored search engine in China. So, we've talked about this before on the show. That's what's going on. Google is helping China make a censored search engine that sort of censors and limits what people get on their search results when they're using the internet. The human rights group on Monday said it launched a petition against the search engine, said that on Tuesday it will stage demonstrations outside Google offices in the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, Germany, Hong Kong, the Netherlands, and Spain. Google's plan for China would irreparably damage internet users' trust in the tech company, Amnesty said in a statement, and would set a dangerous precedent for tech companies enabling rights abuses by governments. As The Intercept first reported in August, Google secretly developed the censored search engine as part of a project codenamed Dragonfly. It was designed to blacklist words and phrases such as human rights, Nobel Prize, and student protest. Interesting that that's one of them, huh? They don't want you to find out about protests. And what the beautiful irony, they don't want you to find out about protests, and here they are being protests. Why don't they want people to find out about protests? Maybe because that's our only option for change right now. Not just in the United States, but in most of the world. And I'm willing to bet in China. So I'm glad this is going on. I'm glad this is happening. So let's take a look at let me pull up the petition here. So you can sign this petition. Now here, this is funny. Let me show you guys this petition. Here's what they say. Here's how they display the petition. Error, something went horribly wrong. Google wants to trade internet freedoms for profit. I think that's kind of funny. So you can sign the petition. Go to join.amnesty.org. That's where you can go to do that. Go to join.amnesty.org. So let's go back to the article here. All right, and this is something else to point out. Many of Google's own staff have spoken out against these plans and are unwilling to play a role in the Chinese government's manipulation of information and persecution of dissidents. Their courageous and principled stance puts Google's leadership to shame. Today we are standing with Google staff and asking them to join us in calling on Google CEO Sundar Pichai to drop Project Dragonfly and reaffirm Google's commitment to human rights. Good for Amnesty International. Please keep an eye on that website to find out more information about the protests. I'm going to do the same. If there's any protest near me, I'm going to attend. And I'd imagine there would be one in Los Angeles. I'm not sure, but I'm going to keep an eye on it. They said offices in the United States. And Los Angeles is in the United States. I am full of deep-seated information. But this is a good thing, and keep in mind, Google bailed out. This is something else we talked about on the show. For a quick reminder, Google bailed out of a project for, I believe, the Pentagon. They were going to get involved with a project of helping the Pentagon with information, help them with a facial recognition project. Google bailed out of that because of pressure from employees and because of pressure from the public at large. But people inside Google were saying, we shouldn't be doing this. We already got stains on us from this China nonsense that we also shouldn't be doing. We really shouldn't be doing this. We're taking a stand. So it's cool to know that there are people that work for Google that are against this kind of stuff, that are standing up to it. And it's really cool to see the public putting the pressure on as well. So I'm glad this is happening. And it's got to continue. And now we're going to San Diego. If Trump closes the border, regional economy could suffer catastrophic losses. The migrant caravan crisis that led to a 5-hour closure in both directions of the busy San Diego port of entry on Sunday highlighted the far-reaching economic impact such disruptions can have on the San Diego region, from potential labor shortages to substantial business losses among the border area merchants. San Sardro. That's probably right? I think one of the fun parts about this show is knowing that I'm reading all these articles for the first time, so I have to know how to pronounce stuff in real time, and I'm pretty shitty at it. San Sardro. I'm going with San Sardro. Some of you guys are probably in the chat right now phonetically helping me out, and I won't see it until it's too late. So I'm just going to take a sip of coffee and plow on. San Sardro shop owners alone lost an estimated $5.3 million in sales as a result of the temporary shutdown. Why don't we bring that up to the right wing? Why aren't we telling the right about that part? Hey, you're hurting small businesses. While there are multiple ports of entry along the U.S.-Mexico border, San Sardro is the busiest border crossing in the Western Hemisphere. About 70,000 vehicles and 25,000 pedestrians move between the two countries each day. The Sunday shutdown occurred after hundreds of migrants made a rush to the U.S. border and were met by federal authorities deploying tear gas in an attempt to disperse the crowd. Deploying tear gas and, pepper spraying children. I remember during Occupy when they were pepper spraying 80-year-old women, and I thought, man, that's the worst. That is the worst abuse of power. One of the worst abuse of power when it comes to pepper spray. When it comes to using pepper spray. Don't forget that last part. When it comes to using pepper spray that I've ever seen. And yesterday, Border Patrol said, "Hold my beer, Ron. I can beat it. I can beat it." Is that a child? Awesome, awesome. And by the way, the next person who goes on Fox News or any other cable network and brings up that bullshit, pepper spray is no big deal, it's like food. Prove it on air. Prove it on air. Take a thing of pepper spray. Just go like this. Take your... You gotta... Prove it on air. If it's food, prove it on air. Or cover your nachos in it and eat it. Prove it on air. That I would pay to see. That would be the only way I tune into cable news voluntarily. And I say voluntarily because I need to watch it often for this sort of thing. But voluntarily as in I am just entertained. I was thinking about this morning. Idiocracy really, the movie Idiocracy was kind of a bit optimistic when you think about it, because at least if our news was a guy getting kicked in the nuts, at least that's a genuine kick in the nuts. All right, we got more stuff to get to. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to find the timeline. Here we go. This is from David. And I think that last article was from Ken. From Anarch Media. First genetically engineered babies announced by researcher in China. So I guess the folks in China might have a hard time Googling about this. A researcher in China announced his lab made the first genetically engineered babies. Scientist He Jianku says he used CRISPR to alter the DNA of twin girls to provide resistance to possible future HIV infection. Two beautiful little Chinese girls named Lulu and Nana came crying into this world as healthy as any other babies a few weeks ago. The girls are home now with their mom, Grace, and dad, Mark. In the U.S., it's not allowed outside of lab research, and China outlaws human cloning, but not human gene editing specifically. Couples were recruited from a Beijing AIDS advocacy group. The men in the project had HIV and the women did not, but the gene editing was not to prevent this. But the gene editing was not to prevent the small risk of transmission. Okay. So wait, were they... Many scientists have expressed concern about CRISPR technology being abused. Gene surgery should remain a technology for healing. Enhancing IQ or selecting hair or eye color is not what a loving parent does. That should be banned. I understand my work will be controversial, but I believe families need this technology, and I am willing to take the criticism. Okay, this article's... It's just me, or is this written a little wonky? All right, so first genetically engineered babies announced. So... he used CRISPR to alter the DNA of twin girls. So were these girls made in a lab? Or were they not made in a lab? Couples were recruited from a Beijing AIDS advocacy group. The men in the project had HIV, the women did not. So I'd imagine that's the mom and dad, and he gave them... he altered their DNA to make them resistant to the HIV infection. All right, I guess we'll see if any more comes to the surface on that. That article was a little wonky. It's my first reading of anything like this. I think we need some more information there. I don't know, maybe it's me, but that kind of seemed a little confusing. The first genetically engineered babies happened, but then that article makes it seem like they weren't genetically engineered, that they were babies that were born as part of this experiment where one partner had HIV, the other didn't, and then by altering the DNA, you help the offspring of said couples, have resistance to the disease. That headline seemed a little misleading, or that article just, yeah. All right, thanks for sharing nonetheless. Let's see what else is here. Let me know if it's me. Let me know if I'm mixing. We read the same thing, and again, this is Get Your News On with Ron, so we're all seeing it for the first time. And I think I missed a couple things. Let me scroll down here. This is from Tim. And this takes us to the fires in California. Fire in Paradise, California, from natural disaster to social catastrophe. This is from a few days ago. The U.S. state of California has been devastated by the most destructive and deadliest wildfires in the state's history. While wildfires, like hurricanes, are rooted in natural causes, the horrific consequences are the product of corporate malfeasance and government neglect. The most devastating impact had been in Northern California, where the Camp Fire largely destroyed the rural town of Paradise, population 26,000. The official death toll now stands at 81. Hundreds remain missing. With little to no warning, families... All right, I want to get to... The response of government officials, Democrat and Republican, has been to downplay the extent of the disaster while seeking to deflect attention from those responsible. All right, so who's responsible? What are the real factors responsible for the devastation? First, there is the role of the energy companies, whose aging infrastructure is known to have caused many fires. At the heart of California's energy infrastructure is a group of three investor-owned utilities: Pacific Gas and Electric, Southern California Edison, and San Diego Gas and Electric, with monopolies in their respective regions. Combined, these utilities have been responsible for over 2,000 wildfires in California since the state began requiring them to report incidents in 2014. PG&E alone is responsible for over 1,500 fires, including 16 major fires in 2017. 11 of those 16 were determined to involve PG&E negligence. And that's just what gets reported on, by the way. And the company faces potentially $17 billion in liability for the lives and buildings lost that year. The precise cause of the Camp Fire is still being investigated, but it began next to Poe Dam, 10 miles east of Paradise, only minutes after PG&E reported a power failure on its lines there. Firefighters initially responding to the blaze reported down power lines. Gee, so we don't know the precise cause, but we do know that they had some power lines go down minutes after, right where it started, and minutes after the blaze started. Second, there is the impact of the government neglect and failure to take basic precautionary measures, meaning these energy companies have had multiple infractions. These energy companies have had multiple infractions, many, causing fires, and nothing happens. Now, they don't get, maybe they get a slap on the wrist, maybe they have to pay them some money, that's about it. As far as business as usual, they can continue to do what they want. They can continue to have unsafe practices, use the environment as their playground, and government does nothing about it. See what else is here. In 2008, for instance, the Humboldt fire threatened Paradise from the southwest, cutting off all but one rural road out. Luckily, the fire was spared. A government report noted that the city only had one viable evacuation route that was only designed to carry 1,200 cars an hour. Despite all the predictions and near misses, the Democratic Party-controlled state government left the problem unsolved. When the fire came this month, no systemic citywide evacuation notice was given. No emergency broadcast. Cell phone alerts were only sent to those who had opted in, which was about 30% of the city. So the energy companies are not practicing safely. They have monopolies. They have committed many infractions, are responsible for many fires. And again, they had power lines go down. Minutes later, the fire started in Paradise. The government has done nothing as far as preventative measures, has done nothing as far as evacuation measures. They've done nothing. So this is a failure on multiple levels. And who pays the price? People. They're the ones that lose their homes. They're the ones that get killed and are missing and can't evacuate. Good job, California. Good job. Thank you for sharing that, Tim. And let's see, it looks like we got time for about one more. And then I'll go to the chat and I'll talk to you guys. We'll continue all the fun stuff that we're talking about. All right, this is from Edwin. Let me give it a Get Your News On with Ron retweet. And I'll be getting to the Reddit a little more later this week. I know I haven't been hitting the Reddit as hard because we've been having some pretty packed shows. I fell off the way. What is this all about? A charismatic pastor turned marijuana smuggler heads to prison. Okay. On Easter Sunday, 2007, Pastor John Lee Bishop drew about 15,000 worshipers to a sports arena in Portland, Oregon. With a flair for showmanship, Bishop, a jeans-clad minister sporting a youthful, moppish haircut, relished building buzz around his Living Hope Church based in Vancouver, Washington, on the north bank of the Columbia River. One time, it was bringing a Bengal tiger on stage. Another, according to an account in the Columbian newspaper, it was advertising a sermon series with the word sex prominently facing a busy street. When I think of sex talk, I think, which pastor is bringing that to me? That's totally what I think. Reaching the masses with the gospel was his calling, even if it was unconventional. He wrote 2 books with forewords by Saddleback Church founder Rick Warren and evangelist Ruth Graham, and launched nonprofit groups with global reach to help the needy. His meteoric rise from a troubled childhood to his time in the Air Force to becoming a promising star in the evangelical Christian world makes his fall all the more striking. In short order, he turned to alcohol, had an extramarital affair with his assistant, was ousted from the congregation, abused prescription drugs, and escaped to Cabo San Lucas, where authorities allege he began a new career as a marijuana smuggler for a Mexican drug cartel. Bishop reached bottom. You know what? They're going to make a movie about this guy, and it's probably going to be interesting. When he considered having a neighbor, described by the FBI as a Hells Angel gang member, killed. How could he stand for anything if he had someone murdered? Bishop 55 is back to preaching. Sorry. Okay. Alright, so they caught this guy. He was... Alright, basically at the end of the day, this guy is just a salesman of varying degrees. You know, first he ran an evangelical. It sounds like it was a mega church or mega church adjacent type thing. Which, those people are con artists. That's what that is. They're con artists. They're getting rich off of preying on susceptible people and exploiting the idea of religion, which is, you know, it's kind of how that game works. So first he was a con artist, you know, preaching the gospel. Then he became a drug smuggler. And now he's in jail. And he's preaching again. He had a moment where he got saved. I love people that say that. I got saved. I saw like, what happened to you? Like one day you had this epiphany to some kind of faith, whatever it was. And you were like, I can talk about this and people will pay me. That's you had some kind of revelation. You know, believe what you want to believe. I'm not trying to bash anyone's personal religious beliefs. But whatever you believe, whether you're an atheist or you believe in God or you're a Christian or you're Jewish or whatever, you can recognize a scam when you see it, right? You can recognize a drifting peddler when you see it. I was saved. No, you weren't. Shut up. And I'm sure that's what this guy is peddling in his jail cell now. I was saved. And then they're going to make a movie about this guy. He's going to write some kind of book, and he's going to be rich again. That's what's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. What is this article? When is this article from? Oh, this is new. This is from 16 hours ago. I fell off the way. That's what I considered having a guy killed. I am a preacher of the Gospels. I considered having a guy killed. Isn't thou shalt not kill kind of in that book? I fell off the way. What can you say? Don't kill. Like, shit, I fumbled that one. I fell off the way. Buy my book. Listen to me preach. Who would want to hear this? Don't kill. Shit, I fucking... You know what? I had this rough weekend, and I forgot that was in there. Don't kill. Shit. I fell off the way. I fell off the way. What about adultery? That was adultery. That's the thing they say. Yeah, this person I had power over, they were just irresistible. I slipped up. I fell off the way. I'm back now. Hear my story. Good. All right. I mean, this is my first hearing of this guy, but... And apparently this guy's wife was helping him out with his smuggling. Be honest and tell them how the money was acquired. So this is something that apparently he said to his wife. Be honest and tell them how the money was acquired. Just kidding. We have a house, baby. Bishop texted his wife. In another message, he allegedly wrote, "Are you happy is the main thing. Would you have imagined we would be in this place? What a blessing." He's smuggling all kinds of illegal stuff and he's calling it a blessing. And he's like, well, as long as we're happy. All right. Interesting last story for the day. Thank you for sharing. And I'll go to you guys to end the show. Are you guys going to see this movie when it comes out? Admittedly, I probably will. Admittedly, I will probably see that movie. Chris Wynn says, did you ever see the episode of Quantum Leap about the hardcore veteran who changed his life to becoming a pastor? It reminds me of this guy. I've not seen that. But, I mean, yeah, you hear this story all the time. And Jennifer asks, who'd play the preacher? You know what? I feel like we should show them this and I should get a shot at it. Edwin, do you think Johnny Depp will take this role? Maybe. Yeah, I think it's possible Johnny Depp could take this role. And I think there's a chance, Tim Burton might get on board. Then they'll make this really, macabre graphic church or something. Balthazar, yes, I will check out Streamlabs. I promise. It is on the list. And we are coming to Colorado, Balthazar, so don't worry. You'll be able to get a... You'll be able to check out a show. Tom's Lover, right-wing politics have flooded Protestant churches in this country. The almighty dollar is their new god. That's been going on as long as I've been cognizant. I mean, I've never known a time where that wasn't the case, and I include my own upbringing. I was raised Catholic, and it had, largely a right-wing agenda. A lot of the people in the church didn't share that, but, the church as a whole, certainly. Celeste, yes, I will check out Streamlabs. Daniel, not a fan of Streamlabs. Jennifer wants Quentin Tarantino to direct it. Frozen Wolf points out there are hundreds of biblical passages saying, yeah, go ahead and kill. It's for a good cause. That is true. Yeah, I mean, I've read the Bible cover to cover because YOLO. And there is, when you really just sit and read that book, it's a fascinating thing to ponder, because one thing that I found, and it was years ago where I just kind of sat down and read the whole thing, but one of the things that I found is there was a lot in there that was just sort of kind of saying, don't act out. Don't fuck around. This God was pissed off at one point. Then he chilled out. Don't fuck around. So you kind of think where it's like, well, back in the day when they didn't have bombs and the the rich needed a way to control the poor, that kind of seems like this sort of worked. You know, like this sort of worked. Like, oh, okay, you're poor and this sucks, and there's nothing from stopping you from having a, violent revolution, but heaven awaits you. And, if you're poor and meek and humble, you'll get to go there. So, I don't know. That's a discussion we don't have time to get into now. But, and Celeste gives a shout out to Mel Gibson for playing this guy. Yeah, that would make sense. That K-Line is right. I smell a Mel Gibson thing. Yeah, this would be, they would do Mel Gibson, and he would make it, this guy would be celebrated, and it would be a nauseating movie. That's probably offensive to other groups on so many levels. You know what Mel Gibson would do? Mel Gibson would find a way to make it like there would be a rabbi in there, and it would be the rabbi's fault that this guy turned. That's what Mel Gibson would do. He'd find a way to blame it on the Jewish people somehow. So he would have like a rabbi there that's like, yeah, the rabbi turned him to the cartel. There was a rabbi there, and he was getting involved with all kinds of messed up stuff. And it's like, oh, that actually didn't happen. Like, oh, it's for dramatic effects. That's what, yeah. All right. Well, guys, we are out of time. Balthazar says, I can't imagine growing up Scientologist. I cannot either. I had a friend that was in some Scientology camp. His parents sent him there accidentally. It's a trippy story. But anyway, we are out of time today. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Some shows. Tickets are available now for January. Gainesville, Coral Gables, Orlando, Jacksonville. Graham Elwood and I are coming. Get your tickets now at ronplacone.com. March 12th, Pensacola, Florida. March 13th, New Orleans, Louisiana. Get your tickets now. April, Fort Worth, Texas. Tickets are available now, April 12th, and we're coming to other parts of Texas. San Antonio, we're looking India. Austin, we're looking India. Houston, we're looking India. So please, and you can get tickets now for all the shows that have already been announced over at ronplacone.com. More are coming. If you can support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider it. Become a patron for a pay-what-you-can level. You get all kinds of exclusive content, plus my album. You can download my album. That's pretty cool. You get dialogues I write with my cat. My cat has an awesome comic strip. It's a lot of fun. Patreon.com/ronplacone. Please do consider it if you are able. And guys, thank you so much for being here. You make this show possible. Thank you for showing me some stuff today. We covered a lot of ground. And, and yes, Proud Menendez, I am coming to Miami, and I can't wait to see you there. And thank you for the Lucy shout-outs. And Chris, yes, we are coming to Indiana, and there's actually a good chance we are going to be in Indiana in July. Guys, we are totally out of time. Thanks so much for tuning in today. This has been Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. Thanks for making another episode possible. We're only 7 months old. Sometimes I take a step back and I remember that. I'm like, we're only 7 months old. New concept, 7 months old. You guys are awesome. Thanks for helping me keep my sanity. I hope I do the same for you. And we'll be back tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Right here over on the YouTubes or the Facebook or the Twitter, wherever you watch it at. Peace out. Thank you very much.